Her contract is up. Her and Aaron, I almost called him Hernandez. That's Stephon Diggs, my bad. That's not Stephon Diggs, is Aaron Hernandez, okay? Aaron Pierre, okay? What's that song? Mufasa? What's that song? Mufasa?
Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa.
What if the relationship everyone romanticized was never built on love at all? Because according to what Tasha K is now uncovering, the connection between Teyana Taylor and Aaron Pierre may not be the fairy tale fans believed it was. Not passion, not destiny, but timing, optics, and emotional convenience wrapped in a clean public narrative. And that's why this story is hitting differently. According to Tasha K, this wasn't about one moment or one rumor. It was about patterns that didn't line up, quiet overlaps, conversations that started before others ended, emotional availability that appeared too fast to be organic. And when you slow the timeline down instead of speeding it up, the story stops looking romantic and starts looking strategic. What makes this shocking isn't that two people connected, it's how they connected. According to the claims, this relationship didn't grow naturally in the open. It formed quietly away from public view, while other chapters were allegedly still closing. And when something begins in the shadows, the question isn't who's at fault, it's what was this really built on? Fans noticed the same thing Tasha did. The chemistry felt curated, the appearances felt timed. The silence around details felt intentional. And once those details are examined, the narrative shifts from love story to image management. Because real love doesn't need this much protection. It doesn't need silence to survive. This isn't about accusing anyone of wrongdoing. It's about questioning authenticity. Was this connection emotional escape, a rebound framed as destiny, or something that looked real only because everyone wanted it to be? Tonight, we're breaking down what Tasha K uncovered, why the timelines matter more than the statements, and why fans are now asking the same uncomfortable question. Was this ever real love, or just the right relationship at the right moment to control the narrative? According to the breakdown that's now circulating, the first red flag wasn't chemistry, it was timing. When you line up public appearances, interviews, and social silence, the relationship doesn't unfold the way organic love usually does. Instead of a gradual build, things appeared to lock into place almost instantly. And instant alignment is often where real questions begin. What raised eyebrows was how quickly emotional availability seemed to shift. Fans noticed that one chapter appeared to close quietly without the usual processing period, while another opened with confidence and polish. According to the narrative, there was no visible in-between. No pause. No public recalibration. Just a clean transition that felt almost prepared. And when transitions are that smooth, people start wondering how long the next chapter had already been outlined. Another detail that stood out was selective visibility. The relationship wasn't hidden, but it wasn't fully open either. Certain moments were shared, others were conspicuously absent. According to the claims, that kind of curation usually signals awareness of optics. Not secrecy, but control. Control over when the story begins, how it's perceived, and which questions never get invited into the conversation. Then there's the overlap issue, not hard proof but soft collisions. Events that were close enough to raise eyebrows. Emotional language that felt too familiar too fast. According to the narrative, this is where speculation turned analytical. Because when emotional intimacy appears fully formed at the start, it suggests it may not have started where the public thinks it did. What makes this timeline analysis compelling is that it doesn't rely on accusations. It relies on sequence, and sequence is hard to argue with. People can debate intention, but they can't move dates. They can't erase proximity. They can't rewrite how quickly narratives shifted once the new relationship was introduced. This is why fans say the timeline matters more than statements. Statements explain feelings, timelines reveal process. And according to this breakdown, the process doesn't look spontaneous, it looks managed. By the end of this part, the question isn't did they like each other? It's when did this really begin and what was still unfinished at the time? According to the narrative gaining traction, the second layer of concern wasn't just when the relationship appeared, it was how carefully it was presented. Fans didn't see the usual awkward phase of two people figuring things out in public. There were no mixed signals, no gradual warming, no messy overlap of uncertainty. Instead, what appeared looked polished from day one. And polish in early-stage relationships often signals preparation. Observers pointed out that the moments shared felt intentional rather than spontaneous. Appearances lined up with favorable press cycles. Silence coincided with moments when questions would have been inconvenient. According to the breakdown, this didn't look like two people caught up in emotion. It looked like two people aware of perception. Not hiding, but managing. Another detail fans keep returning to is emotional tone. The language used publicly felt confident, assured, and settled unusually fast. According to the narrative, that kind of certainty usually comes after time, not at the beginning. When emotional language skips the uncertainty phase, it suggests the emotional groundwork may have already been laid privately. And if that's the case, the public beginning wasn't really the beginning at all. This is where the conversation shifts from romance to function. According to the analysis, the relationship didn't just offer companionship, it offered narrative stability at a very specific moment. Stability after chaos. Certainty after ambiguity. And while that doesn't make it fake, it does raise the question of purpose. Was this about connection, or about closing one chapter cleanly while opening another with control? Fans also noticed how quickly outside commentary was discouraged. Questions were met with silence. Curiosity wasn't fed. According to the narrative, that restraint wasn't about privacy, it was about avoiding timeline scrutiny. Because once timelines are examined too closely, curated narratives tend to unravel. What makes this part of the story compelling is that nothing here proves deception. It simply suggests intention. Intention to shape the story. Intention to decide what the public sees and when. And intention, while not inherently wrong, changes how people interpret authenticity. By the end of this section, the question sharpens. Not were they happy, but was this relationship allowed to exist naturally, or was it designed to land smoothly? According to what Tasha K claims she uncovered, the most important detail isn't romance, it's function. She suggests this connection may have served a purpose beyond emotion, especially when you examine when it became visible and what it conveniently solved. In her breakdown, this wasn't framed as a scandal, but as a pattern she says she's seen before. Relationships that stabilize a narrative at the exact moment instability would have raised uncomfortable questions. Tasha K points to timing as the anchor. According to her, the relationship surfaced during a period when Teyana Taylor needed control over public perception. Not chaos, not speculation, control. And a clean, confident relationship does exactly that. It redirects attention, answers questions without words, and closes doors before anyone can knock too hard. That doesn't mean the feelings weren't real, but it does suggest they were useful. She also highlights emotional readiness. According to the claims, Pierre entered the picture already positioned as grounded, private, and low drama. That matters. Not every partner fits the role of narrative stabilizer. Some bring more questions than answers. This one, according to the analysis, brought calm optics and minimal friction, exactly what a curated transition requires. What Tasha K emphasizes is that real love usually complicates things before it simplifies them. There's friction, adjustment, public uncertainty. Here, the uncertainty was absent, everything looked settled immediately. According to her, that's not typical of new emotional bonds, it's typical of pre-aligned intentions. When two people already understand the assignment, the relationship appears smooth because the rough edges were handled privately. This is why Tasha K doesn't ask, was this fake? She asks, was this necessary? Necessary for healing, necessary for image repair, necessary to move forward without reopening old chapters. By this point, the story isn't about exposing wrongdoing. It's about reframing the relationship as a strategic comfort, something that may have been emotionally real, but also narratively convenient. And once convenience enters the equation, fans stop romanticizing and start analyzing. By the time this story reaches its fourth layer, the conversation has shifted completely. Fans aren't debating chemistry anymore, they're questioning intent. According to the way Tasha K framed it, the issue was never whether feelings existed. It was whether those feelings were the foundation of the relationship, or simply the benefit. What changed everything was how neatly the relationship fit into the moment it appeared. According to the analysis, it answered questions without speaking. It softened narratives that were getting uncomfortable. It redirected attention from endings to beginnings. And fans are now asking a hard question. When a relationship solves this many problems at once, is it still just about love? Another point that keeps resurfacing is emotional pacing. According to the narrative, Teyana Taylor appeared emotionally settled far faster than most people do after major transitions. There was no visible processing period, no ambiguity, no public uncertainty. And while healing can look different for everyone, fans say the absence of vulnerability made the connection feel more like a landing pad than a leap of faith. Then there's Pierre's role. He wasn't just present, he was perfectly positioned. Quiet, grounded, non-invasive to the narrative. According to fans, he didn't add chaos or questions. He absorbed attention without generating controversy. And that kind of compatibility doesn't just happen emotionally, it happens strategically. Whether intentional or not, the fit was too precise to ignore. This is where the idea of real love becomes complicated. Love can exist inside convenience. Emotion can exist alongside strategy. But once fans recognize strategy, romance loses its innocence. According to the narrative, people aren't accusing anyone of deception. They're acknowledging that the relationship may have served multiple purposes at once. And that's why this part of the story feels unresolved. Not because something went wrong, but because something may have been designed to go right. When a relationship appears exactly when it's needed and behaves exactly as required, people stop asking how it feels and start asking why it fits so well. At this point, the story isn't really about whether the relationship was real, it's about why it appeared the way it did. Because when fans stop romanticizing and start analyzing, it means something deeper has shifted. This connection didn't just spark curiosity, it rewired how people interpret timing, silence, and emotional readiness in the public eye. What Tasha K uncovered didn't accuse anyone of lying, it challenged something more uncomfortable. The idea that love and strategy can exist at the same time, that a relationship can feel real and be useful. And once people accept that possibility, they stop consuming stories at face value. They start reading between the lines. This is why fans are divided. Some believe this was genuine healing, two people finding connection at the right moment. Others believe the timing was too perfect, the presentation too smooth, and the silence too intentional to be coincidence. Neither side has definitive proof, but the questions aren't going away because the pattern is now visible. And patterns change how we see everything that comes after, so now it's on you. Do you think this was real love that happened to arrive at the perfect moment? Or was it a relationship that served a purpose first, with feelings developing along the way? When romance aligns this neatly with narrative needs, does it lose authenticity, or does it simply reflect modern reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments, not judgment, not hate, real perspective. If this breakdown helped you look past the surface and into the structure of public relationships, like the video so others can find it. Share it if you believe timing tells a story words never will. And subscribe for more long-form breakdowns that focus on patterns, perception, and what happens when love meets optics.